I'm back. If you were just on my live, I had to bail real quick to make sure everything was okay with the phone call. Everything's okay. So I apologize if I didn't catch you. So hopefully Samuk will come back on, and Ron and everybody else who's asking questions as we wake up. So again, we were talking about watches actually in my last one, and I had realized that I still check my watch. Like it's a habit, you know, my whole life. And that's how I check the time still. And we were asking on the live, it was about, you know, we have the, you know, obviously the time on our phone, and it's different because I check my watch. And a good morning to you, Jennifer Payne. Jennifer Payne and I are now besties, pretty much. I've been in more calls with Jennifer than I have anybody, which is great. We're having a great time. Can't wait for us to be doing our thing soon, actually. Well, soon, relatively. Still a little bit, but so good morning. So yeah, we were talking about watches and whether I like my watch battery died a couple weeks ago, and I still had it on my arm. I would still check it. It's just how it is. I'm not a watch person, but I like this one, and also Allison got it for me. So there we go. All right, so we're back here. So Ron, hey, are you a member of the National Speakers Association? No, I used to be. I am not anymore. I did not care for what they did during especially the first year or so of the pandemic, and I parted ways. So nothing against anybody joining it or being part of it, but you do your thing. And Ingrid, hello. Good to see you. As always, from France. I've never been to France. Where have I been in Europe? I can cut the music now. See, in Europe, it's mostly, we go to overseas for gigs, because, when your job is traveling, at least, before COVID, like another trip isn't usually what you want to do. Like you don't want to, so you want to try to piggyback off of gigs or something. But the problem with that is you go where the gigs are versus where you'd like to go see. And so it's a good way to kind of get off on a plane and see places. But like gigs have gotten us to go see Istanbul and Amsterdam. And I've been to London a few times to speak. Got to go up and down England to do a bunch of gigs with my wonderful, wonderful friend, Amanda Height, who's the best, by the way. If you're not connected with Amanda, go. And we've been to, I've done Thailand and Australia, but there's a bunch of places I've never gone and spoken at. The one international trip we did was on our first year anniversary. We went to Rome. No gigs, no nothing. But yeah, so hopefully in this next chapter, the goal is to go to places to like France. I'm dying to go to Scotland. These are all Scottish. That's William Wallace's sword here, and like the crest, and I got the Scottish flag here. That's Scotland there, and I've never been. So but all my heritage is from there. So all right, hey Tim Barnaby, one of our best supporters and great humans. Hey Tim. What if you come over this year for another book tour? Yeah, well, we don't have a book, so so yeah, and it's yeah. And good morning, Michael. I love your photo, Michael. I never said that. I love it. It's just a great thumbnail. The blue glasses, and then it goes with the blue link. And well, on this because it shows where you're commenting from. It's not on your profile, obviously. It's great. I love the stark contrast between it. So really, really happy. Dale says, that's on our list of places to visit. Scotland. Yeah, good. MK is like, so have you been watching any of the J Spring Tourney games? I've been watching, honestly, more kind of like highlight packages from it. I'll turn it on and I'll watch for a bit. It's kind of like what I do with regular games. Like I can watch a whole game, and I've been to more games than I can count. And, but it's also, I'm like this with everything. It's just like, I'll watch it until I don't feel like it, so I'm not, But I'm like that with most of them. I'm not as diehard as I used to be in any sport, actually. You know, it's just, I realize, I don't know if it's age or the pandemic or all these things, but you know, I'm going to be 47 next month, and I'm just like, I want to look at things and enjoy things that also reduce stress. And being a sports fan, unless you're a fan of like the Warriors or the Patriots or something like that, right? It's stressful. And the Raptors championship bought me 25 years of happiness. And when they won, because I've been a fan since expansion, and when they won, I'm just like, that's it. Like, that's the stress. I'm going to let it go. And like the Raptors this year, when they lose, the Jays, you know, the Jays not making it in with 91 wins last year was just a kick right in the tooth. But yeah, I find stuff like, the thing about sports for me is that like there's these unwritten rules and stuff about being a fan, and you're not a real fan or not. And you can all just, anybody who says that can go stick it right in their ear, like right in their ear. I said ear, not rear, but anyway, but both is applicable. That you can be a fan on any level you want to be. It's the same as music. And you can wear a t-shirt of a band you don't know because you like the t-shirt. You do it. And if any of you watching right now see somebody who's younger and they're wearing a Nirvana shirt or Aerosmith or Metallica or Megadeth, or a lot of ones that are at like Urban Outfitters now and Hot Topic, and you're like, well, they couldn't name the band. Shut your mouth. Just stop it. Don't gatekeep fandom. Don't gatekeep sports. I broke up with the Leafs 13 years ago. You know, like you do what you enjoy. And if that means getting amped up about sports, yeah, do it. Yeah, great. That's your thing. But don't make it so it has to be somebody else's thing. It's like when the Raptors won. People are like, oh, well, you're only a fan because of the championship. Good. Awesome. We won. That's supposed to bring more fans in. That's supposed to bring more joy. We don't gatekeep these things. It's killing me sometimes. All right. So, hey, Ryan, did you love Australia? I love mate when they said Australia. Our speaking business is growing real well. We found opening closing thought to be our favorite place. Bureau work is solid. Relationships with individual agents have changed the game. But how do you suggest personal outreach for those slots? I hate sales, but want to push outbound internally and keep building that momentum. I honestly, Ryan, part of that is you're asking the wrong person. I don't pitch to speak, and I've never pitched to speak because that's UnMarketing. UnMarketing is positioning yourself in front of your target market, so when they have the need for your product or service, they choose you. That's literally what we talk about, and it's led to the point of me not having to pitch. So you need three things to be a successful professional speaker first, right? It's the 3 T's: topics, trailers, and testimonials. You need your topics set up. You need some video of you speaking, and you need testimonials of others who have seen you speak. The number one reason you get booked to speak is somebody already booked you to speak before and they loved it. The second reason is somebody they trust saw you speak somewhere and said, you need this guy. Reasons 3 through 10 are irrelevant almost in this industry. Irrelevant. When you have to pitch, you're at your lowest level of leverage, right? It's very hard to pitch a keynote gig with a fee on top of it, in my experience. Visit Barbados, where I'm from originally. Oh, love me some Barbados. Great place. Hey, Brian, all things awesome and also pop culture. Brian, we have to do one of these where we can just talk Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, New Kids, O-Town, right? We'll go Destiny's Child, On Vogue, whatever you want. We're just not going to do LFO. That's all. That's my only request. And Brian says, have you bought your tickets for Backstreet Boys in Vegas next month? No, I have not. I have not been to Vegas in over 2 years, and I've been over 100 times. So very different. Very impressed by Chapman. Really excited for this year. Likewise, MK. Likewise. I was stoked when we signed Chapman. So stoked. So excited. It's the best third baseman defensively in the league. Period. And we needed that in that hot corner. So I'm very excited about that too. I agree. Ingrid says, if not for a book tour, we can organize speaking gigs, whatever suits best for a world tour. Just come over to Europe. Thank you. I'm represented by a bureau of Vayner speakers that I love, and don't worry, I with them I'll be getting over there, or they'll arrange it. Love my people. MK says, my brothers have been Raptor season ticket holders since the beginning. It was fun watching their happiness when the Raps won it all right. Like that, like I've never had season tickets. And so it's like, even that, like you suffered through a lot of, lean years it's been. So yeah, kudos. There you are. So Muck, I'm glad you came back on this one. I'm sorry I had to end the original one. But life. So it's good to see you as well. Thank you for coming on. Cedric says, topics, trailer, testimonials, excellent. Thank you, Cedric. So it's the only thing I do. Like it's my passion. It's my living. And I wanted to be a keynote speaker since I was 12. That not a lot of people know that or believe that, but people wanted to be astronauts and firefighters, and I saw on our TV, our little box, little TV back in the 80s. I saw Les Brown speak, and I'm just like, that's a thing. And my mom's like, if you try hard enough, yeah, you can yell at people too. And Les is still going, and it came full circle. But almost 20 years later, to the month, I was on stage at one of Les's events. So that was so cool. So I'm glad you like that. I said, don't forget, don't be a jackass. Gave you one at Vegas. There you go. Eugene, good to see you. Scott, what have you found since switching to more direct video content has been more or less effective to translate your amazing real world experience through the screen? What content experience that you produce would you say are best combination of enriching to do and rewarding in the outcomes they deliver? Off topic. So are you actually related to Carl? So it's a good question, Eugene, where it's like virtual versus in person. And I'm doing the video just because I enjoy doing it. This is how I get to connect with others. And it's also under my control. I go live when I want to, when I feel like I want to. And it's not a replacement. I'm not trying to replicate something this way or even in a webinar. It's just not the same for me. It's not the same experience for me. It's not the same thing. And it's not why I do what I do. I'm happy to do webinars. I think I can do them decently well. I have the setup. I have the abilities and the wisdom now, wisdom is time plus mistakes, that I can do it really, I think really well. But the stage is my home. I'm a performer. And I know, Eugene, I know about being a performer, being an artist, and that the stage is my home. So we make the best of it. Bran is so down for a chat pop. Yep. Good. Let's do it. Is UnMarketing in French? I think UnMarketing is in like 15 languages now. I'm not sure which ones at this point. The licensing and translations and international rights and publishing is a whole beast I didn't even realize was out there. It's like crazy, and it's like publishers overseas will buy up a bunch of titles so the other publisher doesn't get them, and then they'll buy the rights for 10 titles, and then they'll print 2 of them or something. So it's always, you never know. Plus, we don't have copies. We have a lot of copies of translations of UnMarketing, but not all of them, because we don't get sent them. They buy the rights. They don't have to send us anything. It's just, it would be nice. I would love to have it. I think it's cool as anything to have it in so many different languages, but we never really get, any notice other than, hey, it's there and you get paid, and once in a while I might get royalties. Samuk says, quick question. Is a website beneficial for podcasts? Do podcasts need SEO? P.S. Asking for a corporate podcast working as a top of funnel offering. Yes, and yes, and yes. Can that be any more definitive anymore? Because if it's a corporate podcast, then the corporation already would have a site, yes? And if they don't, and the podcast is on topic, it's going to be real keyword rich, speaking of the old days of SEO and everything. But the point is, what I want to ask you on the other side is, what's the harm? It's not going to cost you a huge amount. right? If I would have it, I would have a page for each episode with it embedded in there that they can play it on the page itself and with the download links to wherever it's available. And then below it, I would have a transcript. And even better, if you can, I'd have a video of it as well, and then a transcript inside the page. And that's where you get keywords. But more importantly for me, and I think hopefully for people in general, is it makes it more accessible with people with disabilities and with they might need different ways to, or even to searching. It would be really, really helpful. So yeah. Have I ever considered stand-up comedy? That is a great question, Brianne. And it's one that I get every few gigs. Somebody will come up and say, you should be a comedian. And okay, so a couple of things. One, I am very flattered. I am very flattered by that. Two, no way in hell. I'm not supposed to be funny on stage as a business speaker. The bar is very low for humor in a talk. Sometimes it's like embedded in the ground. It's beneath the surface. That's how low the bar is. So I can be one of the funniest business speakers on the circuit or a mediocre comedian because it's all about context with the audience. If I showed up to a comedy club, I have to make them laugh. If I show up to a conference for insurance or financial planning, I'm not expected to be funny. So when I am, I'm hilarious. I have all the respect out there for comedians and people who make a living or try to make a living doing it. It's hard. It's hard. So props to them. And I appreciate that. Thank you. And Les Brownham is the bomb. Yes, I agree. Best advice, Dale says, best advice when it comes to unmarketing yourself. It seems like a cop-out to say it, but the best way to unmarket yourself is be yourself. One of the reasons why we wrote UnMarketing the way it is it was written for the individual. UnMarketing is more about a personal brand than anything. It was written for entrepreneurs. We didn't expect corporate to really latch onto it because we kick it around. We smack a lot of these tried and true thoughts of way things should be done. And I don't agree. And I still don't agree. And unmarketing yourself is about connecting with other people and giving your social currency. And your social currency is your effort and your time on social media. And the more I share, the more I connected, the more I had conversations, the more I felt connected to these people. And when I felt connected to these people, I ended up learning what they did and what they do and how they serve. And then we started working together. And when you're starting out, like I bartered when I started as well. I bartered marketing advice for a logo, right? And those relationships start forming. And you can get to know people through conversation. I think conversation is the catalyst for everything that humanizes us. So the job is getting into more conversations, which for me in 2008 and 2009 was Twitter. And that's how the brand got pushed even bigger. But before that, it was forums and message boards, IRC chat. Like it was about conversation. And if that works for you, awesome. Cedric says, Les Brown is my absolute model of excellence since the 80s. Wow, I'm so glad I joined. Thanks for sharing that snippet of your youthful aims and hopes. Of course, Cedric. There's people in your journey of where you're headed that make the journey different. And I knew, luckily, very early on, I had a skill that a lot of people didn't, which is lack of shame. Pretty much. Maybe a narcissist, maybe I also could describe me, or a recovering one at this point. But those things that either reassure you or dissuade you, it's all these things on our path of where we're going. And when Les captivated me, I realized he was doing the one thing. He was performing. He was storytelling. He was speaking. And so from that day, I knew that's where I wanted to end up eventually. And here I am. and it was the best. But also knowing that early on, and this is a piece of advice for anybody watching right now, I wanted to learn the buyer side first. So I wanted to learn why speakers got selected for conferences, why they got picked over others, and what I could do to make sure that I could be in the consideration for events. And what I learned then, I got on a committee. I was at college. I was at Sheridan College as a student. And I knew I was in HR in college, and the HR PAO, which it was called at the time, would hold their annual conference in Toronto at the Sheraton Center. And there would be 4,000 HR professionals. And I wanted to volunteer. So one year I volunteered and helped with the event. The next year I said, I want to be on this committee. And I was on the speaker selection committee as a senior in college with 9 other VPs and directors of HR, because I just had the passion and the drive to try to get in there. And I got to watch a committee select speakers. And the number one thing then, outside of the VHS tapes and bubble envelopes, was a book. Who had a newer book that we could go off of? So I knew I had to get published, which is where this came in. But I knew to get published, if you wanted to do it the traditional way and have a publisher approach you, you had to make noise. You had to take a stand. You had to build a following. So that's what I did. I built a following, but also I built a following because I wanted to connect with people. I wanted to get to know more people. I wanted to connect with more people than my actual physical, field of vision, within an arm's length of me. And so all those things and all those doing was what the life direction was towards this. Get a book deal, get on stage. And that's how it really worked for me. Sandra says, I'm 57 and starting to take less work as I move towards retirement, but it's hard to not go after gigs. So I'm so used to hustling. Yeah. And I think part of it too, and I still have this with speaking. Like I've been doing speaking for, pre-pandemic was a decade straight of just doing keynotes, pretty much. And one of the things about the hustle or getting the gigs or going after them is every time I get one, I feel validated. And the worst thing, to me, and I think a lot of people in speaking, is to feel irrelevant. And I think that's a human thing. I'm not qualified to talk about this. I'm not educated in psychology. But for me, that's always been my biggest fear, to be irrelevant. That because feeling relevant is people ask me to speak to give my opinion. And so, and I'm not saying this is you, Sandra, but I'm just saying I get it. I get it. As much as I say I don't want to, if I don't get a gig, doesn't matter. And it's changed in the past couple of years where my happiness isn't dependent on that. But I understand, right? The hustle is energy though too, right? And it gives validity to me. And so, yeah, it can be tough for that. Yeah, but I love the industry and I love the stage. And I have a call with a client to do after this, a pre-event call. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm just very lucky to know that, at least right now, Life happens, life changes, but it works for me. I gotta check my stream thing here. See, I can't change it because I'm broadcasting at 720p, right? Interesting. I'm just checking a lot of settings here. Yeah. So anyway, thank you for hanging out. It was a good chat. Sorry about the restart I had at the start there. Well, yeah, we will talk to y'all soon. I appreciate everybody jumping in here. Good to see some new faces and some new names and some of the originals in here as well. Appreciate you all. And good question at the end here. Sandra, what does your retirement look like? You're looking at it. I'm gonna speak until I can't speak. I freaking love it. Love it. I feel semi-retired now. So it's different. I'm not chasing the newer things. I left Facebook. It's like I'm in this mode now where I get to, do what I love. And it's very fortunate. I'm very privileged to have that. So it's wonderful. Ingrid, you too. It's good seeing you on here. I'll make it over there. I will. We'll figure it out somehow. We have a lot of, I got to get over there. I've got to get to Juno Beach. It's the last place I need to get to on my pilgrimage for my grandfather. This is the Queen's Own Rifle insignia. This is his memorial arm. And I've been to, I went to Oostburg in the Netherlands to visit the town his regiment liberated. I've been to Portsmouth in England where they pushed off. So I just got to get to Juneau. So I will get there no matter what. Thank you all again. Good seeing you. Make sure to be kind to each other.